In Nova Scotia, where winter learned how to stay too long, there was a village the map stopped naming. Snow fell here differently, less like weather, more like forgetting. It settled into the cracks of roofs, into the silence between houses, into the breath of people who had learned not to expect much from the season ahead. The soil was frozen solid, hard as memory. Gardens lay still, their rows faint beneath ice, as if the land itself had closed its eyes. Wooden houses leaned with age, paint peeling like old scars, chimneys coughing smoke into a sky that never quite cleared. But the people remained. They rose before dawn. They shared what little heat they had. They spoke softly, not because they were afraid, but because survival had taught them patience. And among them walked Sarah Sable Johnson. She stood alone at the edge of the village, dark coat wrapped tight, wool headscarf pulled low against the wind. In her gloved hand, she held an iron bell, old, heavy, quiet. Sarah believed something the others had almost forgotten. She believed the ground could still hear. The bell was not for calling people together. It had never been rung for celebration, or warning, or church. It was for calling memory. Sarah's grandmother used to say that some sounds don't travel through air, they travel through time. At first, nothing happened. Then, just beneath the snow, something shifted. The land answered softly, not with warmth, not with bloom, but with recognition. A faint tremor passed through the ground, like a long-held breath finally released. Cracks traced thin lines beneath the frost, glowing faintly green, as if the earth remembered an old language. Sarah stepped barefoot onto the snow, just for a moment. Cold bit her skin, but beneath it, the soil felt alive. The ground remembered who had worked it first, who had bled into it, who had sung to it when no one else was listening. They came a week later, not with fire, not with chains, with paper, a white-gloved hand pressed an eviction notice onto a wooden door, the nail biting deep into old timber. The paper flapped in the wind, sharp and official, stamped with authority that pretended to be neutral. They said the land was never theirs, said progress needed space, said relocation was inevitable. Behind Sarah, the elders stood silent. They had heard these words before, dressed differently but meaning the same thing. Paper has never been stronger than roots, but it has erased more villages than fire ever could. That night, Sarah did not sleep. She took her lantern and walked into the trees, snow crunching beneath her steps. The forest rose around her, tall and patient, its branches heavy with listening. She was not running. She was not hiding. She was asking. The lantern's glow barely touched the dark, but she felt it then, another presence. Footsteps that did not belong to her. Breath that did not fog the air. The ancestors answered without words. In a clearing where snow refused to fall, they stood. Men, women, children. Their clothes were old-fashioned, worn by work and weather. Their eyes glowed softly, not with dread, but with recognition. These were the ones who cleared the land when freedom was still dangerous, who built homes knowing they might be taken, who stayed anyway. They had not left. They had been waiting, and now, they were listening. Sarah knelt. She pressed her palms into the frozen earth, fingers sinking just enough to feel resistance give way. She did not sing with her mouth. She sang with her hands. Stories flowed from her skin into the soil. Stories of birth and loss, of labor and laughter, of names that never made it into books. The ground warmed beneath her touch. Thin green vines pushed upward, slow but certain, melting frost as they rose. The earth, long silenced, began to wake. By morning, winter had loosened its grip. Not everywhere, just where they stood. Patches of green broke through the snow like secrets finally told. Villagers stepped outside, staring in disbelief, hands to mouths, breath caught halfway between prayer and laughter. The land had chosen, and it had chosen them. The machines came next. Trucks growled and groaned as they rolled toward the village, wheels heavy with authority. But the ground softened beneath them, swallowing tires, dragging progress to a halt. Mud claimed steel. Engines stalled. Orders were shouted, then repeated, then abandoned. Memory held firm.
Damn this mud, it's no use! The ground's too soft and stuck fast!
Children dipped brushes into paint and wrote the village's name again. Carefully, proudly.
That's it, keep going.
Elders smiled.
Wow, it's so
and for the first
colorful.
time in
Yes,
years.
just like that.
Songs
I'm making
rose,
a
quiet
rainbow.
at first, then stronger, carried on voices that had learned how to endure. A village remembered as a village protected. Years later, Sarah lay quietly, breath shallow, the bell resting on her chest. Sunlight slipped through the curtains, warming her face. The bell did not ring. It rested. Its work was done. The ground knew her voice now. Today, the village still stands. Children run through fields that stay green longer than they should. The bell rings in new hands, lighter now, joyful. Faint figures watch from the tree line, smiling. Not because the village was allowed to survive, but because it remembered who it was. And the land never forgot.
Listen to the bell, children. It carries our stories.
We hear it! It's like singing!
Yes, keep ringing.